All right, it's 6 o'clock. I call this meeting to order. Roll call has been taken electronically. This meeting of the Ripon Area School District Board of Education has been properly noticed in accordance with the open meeting law and state statute 19.84 and related legal references. Our district vision: one of Wisconsin's finest school districts, fostering excellence for all through innovation. No written comments.
Nobody has signed up, no written comments.
Is there any adjustment of the agenda that anybody would like? Seeing none, we'll accept it as it is. And move on to announcement of contributions to the district.
All right. Alliance Laundry Systems donated $250 to the Ripon High School eSports for 2024. Ripon Study Club donated $300 to the Student Needs Fund. Gene Huss Foundation donated $27.50 to the high school robotics team. Alliance Energy $1,000 to the robotics team. And Hunter's Farm LLC $500 to the robotics team. And Northern Express Bus Company employees donated winter hats and waterproof gloves and mittens valued over $250 to the Student Needs Funds. So very thankful for all of those donations and for those organizations remembering the school district.
Thank you. So we'll start with a special presentation of the parent and staff satisfaction survey results.
And we have Darren Sievers from School Perceptions, who was our third party who organized our survey. So he'll give our presentation. We'll just take a minute here to pull him up so everyone can see you.
Hey, great.
Thanks for joining us this evening.
I think he was talking, but I didn't hear him.
It was, I'm logged in both places. I don't know if that has something to do with it. Is that white thing here? Muted? I have it rooted over there.
Yeah.
That might-
This.
She may want this one muted though, so that the other one is by the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
oh, I lost it.
But I have sound turned off on the computer itself.
Okay, very
so it
good.
should be good.
What are we doing?
Yeah. You want to keep mine here.
Oh,
Let me get it up here. Switch it. 'Cause I just turned the sound on the computer itself.
So we have to connect with Darren because I think he's doing his presentation right now.
but he'll start over for us.
we're gonna log, Travis is gonna log in here on this computer, I think it's because I'm logged in two places.
They picked you out of the one.
It is on.
Julie, you might want to put in the chat on that one, just because you, yep. I don't know if you can rest.
You can just. It looks like he's running.
Question is, who's on his camera? I mean, who can we see here that we can
Yeah.
communicate?
Do you want me to mute this?
Yes.
I can hear you. You should be.
Okay.
Still can't hear. While we're waiting, there are treats over there if anyone wants to
All
get
right,
any
one more
treats.
time.
Hey, test, can you? Are we good to go?
Yes. Turn off the mic.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, I got that. Still on.
Okay.
All right, let's try one more time.
Are you good to go?
Just
Yeah.
about.
You can hear me fine?
We can.
All right, now I'm gonna share my screen and we should be good to go, okay?
Thanks for your patience, Darren.
All right, everyone, thanks for having me tonight. My name is Darren Sievers and I'm a project manager with School Perceptions. I'm in my third year of doing this kind of work. Prior to that, I worked for the Slater Schools for the last 27 years. The last 9 years as superintendent of Slater Schools. So here's how our presentation is going to go tonight. We're going to talk briefly about the background about our third-party research company, and then we'll dive right into your respondent information and our results and analysis. So School Perceptions has been in existence since 2002. Our mission is to gather, organize, and use data to help school districts make strategic decisions. We've conducted over 3 million staff, parent, student, and community surveys, and we've helped over 1,000 districts with strategic planning and referendum planning, which we've done with your district in the past. So our parent survey closed on October 28th. We had 297 total respondents for a participation rate of 17%, which is exactly our company average for community and parent survey respondent rates. Of those that took the survey, we can study the results a number of ways, but we did ask them which school their children attend, and this was our distribution by building. Obviously, it's more than 100% because we have some families that have children in more than one building. We can also study the results by grade level. As you can see, we had a remarkably balanced participation by grade level, everything ranging from either 10% to 13%. And we can study the data by services that the students receive. As you can see, we can study that a number of different ways. Gifted, talented, special education, those that at or below the poverty line, 504 plans, or English language learner family. We can disaggregate the results by race as well. And as we start out each of the 2 presentations tonight, we start with a summary of our indexes. These are 5 general categories that all the questions feed into one of these 5 areas. So I'm going to use the first index summary to describe how we gathered feedback from our parents. This is the same scale we'll use to gather feedback from our staff. So we use a 1 to 5 rating scale, a 5 if they strongly agree, a 4 if they agree, a 2 rating if they disagree, and a 1 if they strongly disagree. Now you'll notice there's no 3. That's an intentional setup by our company. If they don't know, or they don't feel the question applies to them, we allow them to check that box, but we don't assign any point value to it because they don't have an opinion. So 3 is the natural median score. So ideally, we're looking for as many scores at 3 or average or above. So as you can see on this index slide, again, all the questions feed into one of 5 areas. How informed they feel as a parent, how included they feel, their view of the educational excellence taking place, the atmosphere of the school, and their family's overall experience. As you can see, the Ripon scores are all well above 3 on the 1 to 5 ratings. First column shows the current score for this year. And if we do this on an annual basis, which is what most school districts do, this is our first year, so we don't have any previous year scores. Next year, we'll be able to have previous year scores, and then a percentage change. The far right column is one of the reasons that Mary and I started to begin to talk, is because what's unique about our company is we've done so many surveys that we can offer you a comparison percentile rank, just like the kind of percentile scores you get on standardized test reports that you hear from your teaching and learning leaders from the district. So as far as feeling informed, you're at the 39th percentile. Included the 32nd percentile, educational excellence, the 48th percentile, atmosphere, the 37th, and experience, the 39th. To give you some context, those are all in the average range. Where we see things as being significantly below average is the 25th percentile or below. And where we say it's significantly above average is the 75th percentile or above. We're going to go question by question coming up soon so you can see how some of the individual questions scored. But the next slide is going to show you some future planning feedback from your parents. We asked them to pick one of 4 areas from a list of 22 items for future planning focus. Knowing that your budget's not limitless, we wanted parents to say to you, what are the 4 areas that they would most likely like to see the district focus their resources in the future? As you can see, number 1 by far was life skills, things such as personal finance, cooking, and health, followed by career and technical education, education in the trades, business marketing, health science. Followed then by recruiting and retaining high quality staff and mental health services. And from there, things gradually decline. Student behavior, services to students with learning difficulties. Doesn't mean those areas aren't important. They were just put in the same position as you as a board as what were the 4 that are most important to them. Doesn't mean these others aren't important. As we go down the list, it may mean that you're doing just a fine job there and they're not worried about that being an area of emphasis in the future. They would just want you to maintain it. Things like reading, foreign language, community business partnerships, etc. School safety and security. Now I will point out to you as a board, I was a little surprised to see that being as low as it is, because oftentimes when we ask this question, it is more toward the top. But to me, that is a built-in complement to Ripon schools. That means parents are not concerned about safety and security being improved in your district because you must be doing a great job at it. And here are the remaining priorities. Again, athletics, 11%, math achievement, 7%. To me, though, that's telling me that the parents feel those things are adequate and satisfactory as they are right now. Now we're going to do a quick item analysis of all the questions we asked in the survey. The first 3 were district level communication, district level questions. Again, same rating scale that I described before. And as I share these results, there's one extra column. The first column is percent agreement, percent that gave you a 4 or a 5. The second column is that average score that we showed you on the index slide. And then the third column is your comparison percentile. So we asked these 3 big picture questions initially in the survey. Is the school board is doing what it takes to make our district successful? 81% gave you a 4 or 5 for a score of 3.73 across all respondents, as you squarely in the average range of the 48th percentile. Same with the district heading the right direction. Scores slightly different, but the percentile rank compared to other districts, and we're comparing you just a few hundred other districts, again as the 48th percentile. And then district administration doing what it takes to make our district successful. You see the percent agreement, 4 or 5, average score, and then the 35th percentile. We did ask a pointed question about communication overall. How would you rate communications from the school? And 70% of parents give you a good or great rating on your communication. We also asked for strategic planning. How would you like to receive school information? No surprise that emails topped the list for parents, just the convenience and speed with which email can be delivered, followed by automated phone texts and notifications. There's an emergency or a weather decision. But third on the list was a bit of a surprise. Third from your parents was meeting with teachers and administrators, followed by parent portal, Infinite Campus, and then further on down the line, school website, newsletters, and Facebook. Oftentimes, we see the website as number 3, but what's interesting in Ripon is they're more inclined to want personal meetings with teachers and administrators. The rest of the survey report will take you question by question on all the questions we asked, which is 30 questions. I'll try to move through this in an efficient manner, but give you some perspective on areas that were particularly high and other areas that were towards the lower end of the rating scale on a percentile basis. So within the school experience questions, I'm updated how my child is doing. You see the scores there. School having high expectations for my child. Opportunities to provide feedback to the school and teachers, all very strong. School communication being both timely and transparent. We asked a few communication questions earlier, and more specifically, they feel the communication is timely and transparent. The school teaching with materials that reflect my family's cultural and racial backgrounds, strong in the average range. But again, you can see that percentile rank gives you some context for the scores, because question by question, the percent agreement and the average score goes up and down, depending on the nature of the question and how your scores compare to other districts. I'm set. School staff treat my child with dignity and respect, 48th percentile. I'm satisfied with how much my child is learning. School facilities are clean and well kept. You see those scores are off the charts compared to the others.
And
But
Darren,
has you at the 45th percentile, average, acceptable percentile rank. Just meeting lots of schools that have doubled down on their cleaning and their
we
maintenance,
just talked about how
particularly
a little
post-COVID.
bit it would take possibly to move that
My
to a
child
higher
breaks a rule at school, they're treated fairly.
comparison.
44th percentile. There's a healthy culture at our school, drops a bit from that to the 33rd percentile. Most days my child enjoys going to school, 32nd percentile. My child feels safe at school, 31st percentile. My child gets help when they need it. And then a few scores that dropped approaching or below that 25th percentile that we use as kind of a cutoff. I'm satisfied with our school's efforts to address bullying. I have at least one school staff member I feel comfortable contacting when I have an idea or a concern. Overall, my child is able to handle the emotional challenges of school. That may speak to why the planning priorities for mental health services was a big priority for parents. I know how to support my child's learning. The school provides opportunities for parental involvement. And closing out the survey, I feel welcome in my child's school. In a couple of slides, I'll show you then a summary of your top 5 and your lowest 5. But we did ask a homework question. The overall amount of homework my child is asked to complete is too little, too much, just right. 71% of parents said it's just right, which is a very strong score. That homework question is a tough one. That's why we ask it. There's not universal agreement on the right amount of homework, but parents seem to be pleased and Ripon. We also ask a question about, does your child currently participate or plan to participate in school-sponsored activities and extracurriculars? 66% of parents said that they do plan or are currently involved in your activities that you're offering. We also ask a access to internet question. This is very valuable for districts, particularly if they've gone one-to-one initiatives, because we are often surprised that there are pockets of communities that do not have access to the internet outside of school. That is not the case at Ripon. So finally, to close out the survey with parents, your top 5 scores involve updating parents on how your child is doing, expectations, opportunities to provide feedback, communication, being timely and transparent in the materials you teach with, and 5 areas that may be worth further study by your admin team. 5 that scored the lowest, comfortable contacting a staff member if I have be a concern, emotional challenges of school being handled by their child, knowing how to support their child, opportunities for parental involvement, and then feeling welcome in my child's school. And our closing question on every survey that we give is called our Net Promoter question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend the school to a friend or family member? Ripon scored a 7.33 on a scale of 0 to 10 for an average score. The average score within all the districts where we've asked this question is a 7.61. So that has you slightly below average at the 31st percentile. Are there any questions about the parent report? Okay. Then I'm going to shift gears.
Darren,
Yes.
I was just gonna say, when you're showing those percentiles,
Yes.
and one of the things that we talked about was that, like for school safety or the cleanliness of the building, the percentile may be low because schools overall generally have a favorable rating for their school within those regards, and even just a little increase would jump us a lot in that percentile. So that's something that Darren can dig into for us for particular questions, and so that's something that's helpful as we go into strategic planning and want to look at any of those. It just might be that the districts are all really close together because everyone scores high on a question or.
Right. Yeah, the cleaning one is a very good example. Again, post-COVID, so many districts use those federal dollars to double down to their cleaning practices and get kids back into school, and they maintain those practices post-COVID, quite honestly. And Mary set up some very exciting one-to-one meetings with some leadership, and we have dug into some of those questions on what it would take with those tightly clustered questions to move up the percentile ranking to a slightly higher percentage. So that's been fun to dig into the data more specifically site by site and such. So my next report is your staff report if you're ready for that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, excellent. And I want to start by saying, by the way, congratulations to Mary on her exciting news. It's a sad day for education, but exciting to hear for her. School board leaders, this is a particularly strong report, and I'm very excited to share with you how the staff reported back to district leadership and to you on how things are going. Again, so the opening slides are the same. Our background, so we'll get right into your staff data. 182 staff members took the survey this year for a 61% participation rate. And that's a very good response rate. Our average is around 60 to 65. So we're very pleased in year one with our company to see that kind of response rate. We did ask them at which location they spend the most time, and this was the response by site. And we can drill down by site, absolutely, as I alluded to, but we are also able to drill down by position. This was a particularly helpful area for me in Slinger when I did these surveys on the other side of the desk as a customer of school perceptions. I drilled down into our paraprofessionals where I found some pockets of unhappiness with our pay scale and our workload, particularly within our special education rate. So that gives you an idea about what you can do with the data we provide if there's an area that you want to look into further. So again, 49% were classroom teachers, 10% educational specialists. That'd be like your counselors, your school psychologists, your reading specialists, folks like that. Paraprofessionals, support staff, which would be your office staff, some of your kitchen staff, custodial staff, then administration, 6% chose not to answer, even though our process, as I should have said from the beginning, is completely confidential and anonymous. We do have a distribution of years of experience, which I found to be super healthy and exciting to see. Only 5% in their first year or two, 21% years 3 to 5, 21% years 6 to 10, and 26% 10 years or more. Within the staff survey, we also have indexes, just like with the parents. But they're in the areas of academics. We are effective in teaching and supporting our students, engagement, I like working at school because I feel heard, valued, and contribute. A survey like this is one of those acts of engagement. Support, how supported they feel, the student experience through the eyes of the staff, and then the staff experience through their own eyes and their own experiences. As you can see, average scores were not dramatically different from what we saw in the parent survey. That's where that comparison percentile comes in very handy to give you some context compared to other schools. You, as a school district, are in the above average or in the highly above average range for all 5 indexes. And again, we're going to dig into individual questions to give you an idea about where your particular strengths are, and there are many, and then where are some areas of improvement. And we have to squint a little bit more on this report to look for areas of improvement because your staff is quite happy. So again, same rating scale. First section of the survey is centered on the workday. Questions about things like, our staff handles discipline in a consistent manner. Now you'll see the agreement percent, 66% giving a 4 or 5 for an average score of 3.42. But compared to other districts, it has you in the 85th percentile or top 15%. This typically is one of the lowest rated questions I report back to school boards, and we do lots of these reports every year. So an area of weakness for most of our districts is one of Ripon's areas of strength, so congratulations on that. Our staff does a good job of educating our students. You see how different those scores are compared to the discipline question, which are at the 80th percentile, top 20%. I feel comfortable sharing input and concerns with my supervisor administrator. Again, oftentimes an area we have to work with school districts to improve this area, having good relations between supervisors and administrators and being approachable, not the case at Ripon, 79%. And closely linked with the first question, our staff handles discipline in a consistent manner. Our school's student discipline practices and policies are effective. They're often married pretty closely together because you have to have good policies and practices to have a good, consistent environment, 76%. Important information in my work is shared with me in a timely, effective manner. Can never communicate enough oftentimes, but your employees are very happy, and your staff are very happy with the communication taking place. Next question, they're feeling very supported by their supervisor and administrator, 73rd percentile. The district seeks input from a broad group of staff members. That question has it at 57th percentile. Most days I look forward to going to work compared to other districts. See the scores there, and you're at the 56th percentile. And then a question that drops off a bit, and we've been seeing a trend in this statewide. The amount of work I'm asked to do is reasonable, manageable. That is at the 38th percentile. As more and more is asked of staff, and some districts are maybe making cuts in their staff. The next set of questions is about their work environment. I recognize when I do a good job, 81st percentile. I have training and support to work with students from different backgrounds. Again, this is one where I've given many a report lately where this is one of their lowest scoring questions. Not in Ripon, it's one of your strengths. All students at our school are respected for their values and beliefs. Love to see that, top 20%. And then, again, talking about training, I have opportunities for training and professional development to improve my work. You have these late starts or early releases or in-service days. What are your staff thinking about them? They're liking them, they're valuing them, 78 percentile. In the last year, I received useful feedback to help improve my work, as in the top 28% on that question. The district heading in the right direction. Now, we asked that of parents, and that you were right in the average range there. Through the eyes of the staff, above average, 66 percentile. The school board doing what it takes to make our district successful. Slightly higher, but similar to where the parents are seeing things. Very, very acceptable. I will tell you, many a report I've given lately has had very low scores for school boards and district administration where I've had to be the bearer of bad news. The folks are not very happy. And that's not the case. Wonderful to see and much easier to share that news with the board. I feel safe at work. See how high those scores are. That's another example that Mary alluded to of areas that would be tightly clustered because 92% gave you a 4 or a 5 for an average score of 4.24. Has it the 47th percentile. It would not take many points higher to get you in that 50, 60, or 70 percentile like some of the others. District administration doing what it takes to make our district successful, 44th percentile. And then the final section of the survey, support questions. Our school has a process to ensure every student has a connection with at least one adult in the school. As you at the top 20%, 80th percentile, I have healthy working relationships with my coworkers. Again, you see how high those scores are, but so is your percentile rank. The district's pay practices are fair. Now, this is often a question I'll hold up. That and discipline is an example of areas where without the percentile, you would maybe think this is a weak area for Ripon. Not the case. That 65% agreement scale and the average score of 3.34 has you in the top 24% at the 76th percentile. Our school supports students from diverse backgrounds. Very strong. I have access to the technology support I need, and they were helpful to me tonight. The social and emotional needs of all students are being met. Again, an area that the parents were more concerned about through the eyes of the staff, those in the front line working with the kids, feeling much better about all that is being done to help kids during this time when there are a lot of mental health issues across the nation with the accounts we work with. I have the technology I need to do my job well, not far away from the support questions. So they have the devices and they have the support. Sometimes we see a fragment there where maybe they have the devices, they don't have the support they need to run those devices, but not the case in Ripon. Very favorable scores there. Staff input being valued, and again, a survey like this and getting those results back to the staff only helps with this question and the rating scale. Our parents and community support the school. Love seeing staff feeling good about the support they're getting from their community. All students at our school are given equal opportunities to learn and experience success, and we break that out for you more specifically in one more slide. And then I have the materials and supplies I need to do my job well. In these times where budgets are strained, your staff is still feeling like largely they have what they need to do their job. As I said, we break out the equitable opportunities for students a bit more specifically by 5 different areas: gender, economic background, race, ethnicity, and special needs. And you'll see 3 of them are remarkably high. And based on through the eyes of the staff, they're feeling like maybe more could be done for students with challenging economic background. Special needs has you squarely in the average range. So as we summarize your results, some great celebrations here as far as how the staff are feeling. They're loving how discipline is being handled and that they're being recognized for the job they do. The training is valued. They feel like they're doing a good job educating their students, and they feel like students are valued and respected for their values and their beliefs. We do have a bottom 5 slide, but I would say you have to take this with a grain of salt. Again, none of the areas are in the lowest 25%, the area where we would say should be maybe talked about for potential targeted improvement, depending on the drilling down and the homework administration does, the story behind the scores. But all 5 of these are in the very average, slightly below average range. So through the eyes of the staff, things are very, very good in Ripon. And we do have the net promoter question to close out this presentation on the scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend the district as a place of employment? And again, I particularly like this question as a former administrator. It's the greatest compliment I feel like we can receive as administration is having people say you would want to work there. It's a great place to work. Your score at a 0 to 10 rating came in an average of 7.82. The average score of all the districts where we've asked this question is 7.07, has you at the 79th percentile over the top 21%. So that is your staff report, and something that should be celebrated because your staff are feeling very good about the efforts you all are making to make Ripon a great place to work. Any questions about the staff report?
No questions. Thank you very much, Darren.
Yeah, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you,
I
Derek.
hope all are Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
Take care.
And again, as Darren said, he'll work one-on-one with administrators just to kind of look at plans and opportunities moving forward, and we'll continue to revisit this through our strategic planning process to make sure that we follow up and have opportunities to do anything that we can to continue to reach those scores and to sustain the scores that are already high.
Couple updates for the past month-ish. Mr. Pochatz took a group of kids on a field trip. It was to learn about the roles of an operation engineer. So they got to try some heavy equipment and ask questions that they had, and just learn about the education of an operation engineer. The seniors were informed about upcoming things leading to graduation from Mr. K. Sports-wise, the wrestling team and the boys and girls basketball teams have started. The girls are 1-4, boys are 0-5. It's been a tough competition. And then wrestling has had 2 meets, and they have one this upcoming Saturday, which is a girls-only tournament. And starting next year, the WIA is having it where there will be separate boys and girls teams, so that's cool. And then cheer had a showcase in Manitowoc, which went really good, and there's more to come. And then our chess team had their first competition, got second overall with a record of 13-5-2, so that's also really good. Both band and choir had a concert recently, and I think that they did a good job, per usual. And then we also had Dickens, which was the first weekend of December, and a couple different clubs participated in that. I know German for sure. Other than that, it's kind of been a calm month student-wise, I think. So I'm sure finals will be something next month, but that's not to deal with right now. Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
Great job again.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Takes us to action items. The first one is to consider approval of the 2025-2026 school calendar. Is there a motion to put it on the floor?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just a point to note the change with the spring break, due to the scheduling of ACT, spring break was moved back to that 4th week to allow us to have ACT and then they make up ACT right after. And we don't have to move the school board meeting, which I think is also a benefit, because that's kind of when people expect it.
All right, I call for a vote. It doesn't want to come up. Anybody have tab? Anybody have any buttons?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't have any buttons.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, me too.
All right, hang on.
Got it. So you still
I got it.
okay. You okay?
All right. And the calendar is approved. Next item is to consider a proposal for air conditioning system replacement at Murray Park West Elementary. Is there a motion to put this one on the floor? Gary?
I so moved.
And I think there was a little update with the numbers in this one as well, right? Just so everyone's aware.
Second?
I'll second.
Wheeler? So discussion. So this is the second air conditioner, right?
So waiting on the first. So, the second air conditioner, it feeds the office area, the specialists, the library, all the areas down that middle hallway of Murray. It's original to the building. We've repaired it a few times this year, and it's time to replace it because it is in failure mode. So I got it to the board about 2 months ago. Tonight I'm asking just to approve a budget not to exceed, because we have some additional questions with some federal regulations, new mandates with refrigeration that we're still trying to iron out. But that way I don't have to wait an extra month to bring it back to the board in January if we get those questions answered and see how they're.
Any questions for Brian?
My only question is, how common is it to have two vendors come up with the exact quote to the dollar?
So both vendors are not the same on that.
I was saying, I didn't think so either.
No.
5562 and 55.
Okay, so
On the quality.
on the quality controls is the automation, for the HVAC automation of it.
Quality control.
And then the other two vendors, I believe the quotes were shared with the board. We just didn't want to open them up because we're looking to ask some additional questions.
I see.
I appreciate all the detail, but once again, it helps me to understand what you're doing.
Any other questions? Are you ready to vote? All right. And it passes, the maximum budget is approved. So here we have a resolution authorizing the redemption of certain of the general obligation school building bonds. Could I have a motion, please?
I so move. I'll second.
Questions about this one? It's a chance to save us some money and interest down the road, and we have the money to pay off early.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'll just talk about the goes on and so the proposal is to do a $215,000 early payment using $209,000 extra that we levied this year at the annual meeting. The difference is that that $209,000 can pay off $215,000 because we have some savings and interest that from the money that we hold throughout the year. We make payments in September and March, and so when we hold that money, it earns interest, and so it allows us to pay off more. The other thing is that by doing a bigger payment in March, $215,000, we owe less interest in September, and so it kind of helps us that way. So this is the second time we've made early payments towards Fund 39. We did the same thing on March last year, $230,000 last year. So.
Any questions for Jonah? All right, thank you, Jonah, and we'll take a vote. And the early payment is approved. Consider approval of Odyssey Academy virtual learning teacher overloads. So we have two overloads that have been requested. Is there a motion to approve them? For Megan Plants and Renee Vogt.
I so move.
Thank you, Lord. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Denise. Discussion. None? All right. Your vote? And the overloads are approved. Now we have consider approval of special education overload. Is there a motion to put this one on the floor?
Move to approve that overload. Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Josh. So just a comment about this one. Those are three overloads, but they're two different types of overloads. This is an administrator overload, and we don't usually do overloads there, but we do sometimes when they're taking on a particularly onerous extra work. And so we're missing a school psych, and half the job is being done by our other school psychologist, but the other half is being done by Becky Morin. And so the proposal from the administration is to give her an overload for that work. And is there anything that you want to say, Mary, about that?
Just that Rob, our other school psych, has a similar overload for the half that he's taking, which it's more of a token than connected to the volume of the work. Typically, an overload is for a class period because the teacher's doing an extra class, so.
And it sounds like there's an issue with having enough graduates to fill the jobs that are needed. It's all over.
We have an open search
Right,
going
we've
on.
had it open for a long time.
But we weren't able to find anyone for first semester. I don't know how it looks for second semester. Typically grads don't come out with the grad program because there's so many years of actual work on the job and those kind of things and it's a graduate level program. So you kind of already know when you look back in the pipeline and how many vacancies there are, that there aren't going to be enough people to fill all the positions. So, great field to go into, but it's hard to get into the schools because there aren't enough slots in the schools to put on enough candidates. So.
Joni, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to make one comment, and that is that the work that Rob and Becky are doing outside of their normal work is also saving us from CISA 6 costs, which are exorbitant. And the price that we're paying for their overloads doesn't compare to what we would have paid CISA to, do a third of our evals. So it's just another perspective on the value of those overloads.
And unfortunately for both, it was more of a voluntold than really an ask that they could have declined. And we both agreed to take that on, but it's also not, it's not sustainable to continue to do that because the workload they're both taking is quite horrendous.
And we would consider interns, because I think we've done that with other positions, if that were available to us.
Yeah, this is just such a different kind of a position because of the liability behind it and the high stakes work that they're doing.
So these are legal requirements that.
Correct, and even if you have the licensure, which very few do in the district, you have to be qualified and have the knowledge and the background. And in some cases, it's easier to get the license as an add-on if you're getting admin. But if you don't actually have the special ed background and knowledge and training in evaluations, you're not really qualified to have the position.
Other questions or comments? Now call for the vote. And it passes with 2 abstentions. We move on to personnel. Consider approval of utility and grounds position wage schedule. Is there a motion to approve the updated utility and grounds wage schedule agreement?
So moved.
Second, Gary.
Thank you. Discussion. This is just bringing a position in line with another position that it seems more equivalent to in terms of the work. All right. Seeing no discussion, I will call for the vote. And it passes. We have a proposal for additional sick leave for 12-month staff. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve additional sick leave for 12 months staff. Gary.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, please. Discussion. Any questions, comments? Ready to vote? Okay. You may vote. And so that is approved with one abstention. That would be an increase from 10 to 12 days of sick leave for 12 months. Is there any item on the consent agenda anyone needs to have or wants to have taken out for special consideration? All right, then you may vote on the consent agenda as it is. All right, I'll take a motion to approve it.
I move to approve the consent agenda. Katie. I'll second.
Thank you. And now you may vote. Consent agenda is approved. So we move on to possible upcoming action items. And the first one would be to consider acceptance of Quest Elementary Charter School's request to not renew the 5-year charter agreement, which sunsets at the end of this year. Any discussion about that?
Could you please give us a little update? I know you have got governance comes in.
So, we had the governance council voted
Just
last
to
week.
introduce you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jesse Johnson, principal, Jamie Dragowicz, president of Quest Governance Council.
Thank you for being here.
So last week was the governance council meeting where they moved to vote. That came after a parent meeting, a parent survey, along with discussion with staff. And the vote was 8-0 that they wanted to not renew the charter and move to unification and request.
Did the parents have any concerns?
There were very few that attended, and most of them were just seeking information and clarity. In the survey, there were some questions around like how will that unification look, like will PBL continue? It's already in both schools, so just some clarification around that. But overall, it was overwhelmingly positive.
Anything else? So this will come up next month, then, or won't come up, actually, we don't have to do anything. They won't apply for a renewal and then just dies, or, is that how it works? Because it's up to them whether they want to have a charter school, right?
It's true. Although I think, did we,
I thought we voted.
I think we did do a vote, like that the board is agreed, or they're accepting of their,
Doesn't the charter have to be dissolved by the board?
it ends.
It ends.
Oh, it just ends, so.
Yeah, it's
We're
not
not
early.
ending it early, which maybe we were doing it early.
Yeah, I think so.
But I
think
wonder if,
actually,
I wonder if just accepting their, just so that there was some acknowledgement that the board also supports what they're,
right.
you know.
I think
Might be good.
Yeah, I think
Farley was
Farley
in-
said it too. I don't think it was dissolved
We
early.
accepted the governing board's decision not to renew, and
Okay.
then I
Okay,
think you approved the merger of the two schools, if I remember correctly.
okay, okay.
We go back and look.
Thank you, yeah.
All
It's
right,
just nice to have it on, thank you.
Sure.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then there are 3 facilities projects to be funded using Fund 46. Any questions about those? There'd be new cafeteria tables at Murray Park West, and new batting cages to high school, and new office furniture at Follow Park. Comments or questions about those? Everyone's chomping at the bit to get up and come to the table. We can leave them sitting there if you want.
You did a nice job explaining again.
Is there anything that you comment on, yeah, just for the public, or just,
We're moving.
just lean by the microphone?
So some of these projects we've already budgeted, actually did some budget numbers on. Actually, I think 2 or 3 of them we could actually theoretically bring to the board very quickly. My hope is that we have them in January. The Barlow project is just finishing up the office, after the renovations of painting and carpet. The high school batting cages, it's a long need that's always been asked for, just because there's such minimal space, and now with open gyms and things like that, we're really stretched to only have one in a upper gym where you're dividing, multiple groups and trying to supervise both areas. And then, the cafeteria deals, it's been a great success story in the middle school. And we did it a year ago, and it's really helped with some behaviors and really the functionality of the cafeteria. And Murray Park is got original tables that I don't even know may have came from another school before that. So they've held up well, but the tables, individual seating and things like that have really worked wonders in the middle school. And it would be the same thing that Barlow's had for the last 24 years in their cafeteria.
Sounds a good idea.
They're just never cheap.
Sure.
Thank you. So if anybody comes up with any questions, again, these come up next month, so there is time to ask questions. Next item is approval of support staff handbook changes. Any questions about any of those changes? Seeing nothing, I will move on. We have a whole slew of Neola issues. There weren't any, I don't think there are any cases in here where we changed any of the policies other than updating language to fit legal requirements. There were a couple cases where we actually turned down Neola's suggestions and remained with our policy. Or merged the two in the case of the wellness policy, where basically we kept our policy, but we incorporated some recommendations from DPI to improve our score, satisfaction score for having the things that they want in a wellness policy.
And actually, wellness isn't on here yet,
Oh, that's
because
right.
it didn't score so well, so we're gonna run it through again and see.
We're
if
still
there's
working on
better
that one.
language we can put on, so.
Okay, sorry. I don't have the numbers memorized. So any questions about those, feel free to ask them. Policies are always come up multiple times, so you get lots of chances if you want to ask questions about them.
And I just got my notice with a new batch in January, so
Yay.
keep us happy.
I'm just going to jump over all of these. And the same thing is true of the administrative guidelines. In some cases, Neola has actually, in many cases, been absorbing administrative guidelines into policy, which sometimes makes them really long and technical, and you can't imagine anybody reading through them at all. So we have, by and large, tried to keep them separate, have administrative guidelines which go into the nitty-gritty details of something, and have policies which are the more overarching statements so that you can see exactly what we're trying to achieve. There are some in here where the administrative guideline was so short and the policy was so short that we actually did accept Neola's recommendation and move the administrative guideline language straight into the policy. But one thing you should keep an eye on, if you look at policies, is we're trying to keep, as much as possible, we're trying to make them easy to read and easy to understand and put the details of the administrative guidelines. Unlike some school districts, our administrative guidelines are accessible to the public. In many school districts, it's only the policies that are accessible to the public, which is why Neola is moving language into the policies so that that's actually accessible to the public. that a fair statement, Mary?
Yeah, fair.
So again, nothing in these administrative guidelines that is anything different from what we've been doing, just brought up to date. So that takes us out of future action items and on to superintendent reports.
All right, I don't really have legislative updates, but we do have WASB proposed resolutions, which will come up at our education convention in January, so if you take a look at those, that's really helpful. So that when we do have a delegate that goes down for us, they have some ideas. If there's anything particular there that the board is interested in looking at, otherwise they tend to vote based on what the feedback has been from the board throughout the year. So I don't know if there's questions about that. I know one of the things we're looking at is to appoint a delegate for that session in January.
I don't know where we ended up. Is anybody actually going to the session in January?
I'm unable to. I found out I had a previous commitment.
Okay.
Is Tom? Well,
Don't think he is. I think he has done several decades of.
yeah.
So I did actually, just to make that clear, I got a copy of the notice to him from WASB, I guess. He will be honored, if he does show up this year, he will be honored for 40 years of school board.
He needs to go to that.
Which is very impressive. And we should let him know that he can go without being the delegate if he chooses this time. That would be okay.
It's not horrible if we don't have anybody at the delegate assembly. Lots and lots of people. Anything else, Mary?
Just information about superintendent search. There's some documents there. Tried to show the board what the search looked like previously when Dr. Zimmern was retiring. And I was actually going through the process so that you could see that. And then what a similar timeline might look like this spring moving forward. I did put a document on there with superintendent search firms, assuming that the board would hire a search firm as they did the last time they went through the process. And then also put on a potential proposal that we could send out to those search firms to have them report back to the board. And David would be the person that would be the contact to receive those. And then once the board went through those proposals, they could select search firms that they may want to interview and have a special session to interview those and actually select a firm. So I'm surmising based on what the board has done in the past, but that's up to you to decide. But it may require some additional meetings in January, as it looked as though the board had done that with the last superintendent search.
Are Tom and I the only two?
Gary, you were
Gary,
on
were
board
you
then
on
too.
this board when we?
I was on the board during the search that.
Yeah, so the three of us are the ones that run. How much memory how many memories do you have?
It's pretty
Yeah.
vague-ish.
My memory is, we decided early on that we did not want to run the search locally, that we definitely wanted to use a search firm.
Yes.
And my memory is, because I looked at this list, my memory is that there were 3 that we brought in to interview. They're all 3 on this list. I won't tell you which ones they are because I don't want to prejudice you, but that's what we did last time, is we brought in 3 and then picked the one we wanted and went from there.
So will we meet to discuss this? Will it be in open or closed session? Will it be a special session? What do you think for timing for that part?
And Jolene, you looked into that a little bit in terms of the board's ability to be in closed session to select the search firm. But I would assume you probably would want maybe 2 sessions, one to review the proposals and select, and then who you interview, and then actually offer interview opportunities for those 3. So perhaps 2 meetings in January to be able to do that work.
So we have to have a special session.
And again, this is to choose the search firm.
Correct.
That's just to
correct.
choose it, yeah.
And then what happens, just for those that aren't aware, the search firm really puts the posting out, reviews initial applicants that come in, they do initial background checks, reference checks, kind of the social media search on the candidates, and they do a first initial screening of those candidates to bring the top 6 candidates forward to the board, and then you would do, if you did it the same way, maybe 2 evenings of interviews, 3 candidates each night, and then again, 2 more days where you do kind of a full day with your 2 finalists. So, but it's, the advantage of using a search firm is for candidates, especially those who may be seated superintendents, they really do remain anonymous in that initial phase in case they're not a good match for the district, or there's something that would preclude them from being the top 6. So sometimes you get more superintendents coming forward because they feel secure in them not, in their looking for another job, not becoming public unless they're a top candidate, if that makes sense.
And I think there's another thing too, is that the search firms can headhunt a little bit. They know people, they can go look at some people, and we wouldn't have a clue. We would be totally reliant on who said they wanted the job, whereas they could kind of push people our way, get them to consider us in there.
To me, there's no question that we should use a search firm.
Exactly. I agree.
The next question is, so Mary's put a possible call for proposals, who's interested, what search firms are interested. If we're happy with that one that she has, we should just approve it so it can get sent out. I don't know if anybody actually read it. I vetted it when she first wrote it, and it seemed reasonable to me, but I might have missed things.
And I just went off of 2 example ones that came in. One was 2 pages, one was 22, and I didn't know that we needed to go, and that one had an actual contract and everything in it, and it was very thorough, but I think we found a happy medium with enough information to get a good proposal, but.
I think last time we just wanted to find what they would tell us about how they were going to do it. I mean, it was pretty easy. I don't think we had too much trouble cutting the list down to just 3 to come in and talk to
I
them.
don't know how many search firms there were then. I think with the shortage of superintendents, more and more districts are using firms because they do need that headhunting and searching to make sure you have a good pool to pick from, because there's definitely a shortage. So.
So do you want feedback on the search documents? Yeah.
Well, could we leave it this way? If nobody expresses any objections or suggests any corrections by, let's say Thursday, it could go out.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you want to hear from us either, right, Mary?
Yeah, I think
It's
just.
useful if you just let Jolene
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
This is okay with me.
Maybe, yeah, message Jolene, and then we'll give a summary together
Okay.
before anything will go out, but it would be nice to get that out so that they can be thinking ahead.
Sure.
And you could potentially receive proposals to possibly have a meeting that 2nd week of January to keep
Just
moving.
for clarity, David, I would send it to the list, that WASDA list,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
And then the superintendent job description that really comes out of our policy. I just put it into the format that we normally have used for a job description. I didn't know that you wanted to formally approve that job description though, because if you update the policy, it creates multiple steps. So if you're okay with the way it looks, I think the policy is what would determine, yeah, we govern whether or not that is updated. But I thought for candidates to see it in a job description format rather than a policy would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, all of the thousands of policies really relate to the superintendent, how the superintendent works with the board and with the, so it's even beyond this policy that governs the superintendent's work. It's a good list.
All right, we'll move on to curriculum department highlights for December. Anybody have any comments or questions about the report?
we did include the press release at the end so that it is housed within our board, our electronic board system, so that it's easy to find in years to come.
We'll move on to the general fund interim budget report. I wish having a higher percentage of revenues this year meant we were going to get more money by the end of the year, but it doesn't mean that.
The explanation for that is that we've been claiming our grants, like our ESSER 3 grant, 535,000 of ESSER 3 grants. We claimed that in summer school and in September, and so we're getting a lot of our revenue up front that we wouldn't normally get.
Then we have the food service interim budget report. Comments or questions there? Updated annual financial report. This is the budget hearing booklet. Just has a few additions to it. Again, now it's, you can find everything easily. Then we have the school operations reports. Anything catch anybody's eye there?
Maybe just a reminder, we still have our elementary concert this coming week, tomorrow and Thursday, if anyone's interested. Is it 9 and 1:30 for most? 9:30 and 1:30 for most of us.
Concerts were great.
And we have the school violence drills and assessment reports. All right, then we're ready to convene to closed session. Is there a motion to convene in closed session?
Move to convene in closed session.
Gary, second? Your vote.
Your business
Grab some treats over there as we have. Tom was here, we remember, it used to be from the.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Barb was here, and I don't even do semi-party, but I did for treats.
Laura, yours hasn't come in. Your vote hasn't come in. We can't get into closed session. Thank you all and have a good Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.